My job here at the library is as a library assistant. We pretty much do anything that we're asked to do from our supervisors, putting books away, ordering books, reading shelves, assisting patrons with picking out books, either fiction or nonfiction, school projects. It's a very multifaceted career path.
As far as book industry goes, trying to maintain the collection, trying to see that materials that the public could use or needs or wants is available to them or accessible to them, either within the branch itself or through interlibrary loan services. One of the obvious things is, okay, we have a New York Times bestseller list, we have Oprah, we have all this, and the community wants to put their name in for all the new Pattersons, all the new Daniel Steeles, all the new for nonfiction. We just had an election, so everybody wants to read about Romney, everybody wants to read about President Obama. So you want those materials to be quickly obtained and accessible to people. We also interact with the schools as much as possible. We can't duplicate all their reading lists all the time, but sometimes they'll have a standard classic that we know they're going to need, so we have extra copies of that. There's also the nature of the community itself. We're a very coastal-oriented community. There are a lot of boats, a lot of the Coast Guard base, so we have a large maritime collection at this particular branch because there's a lot of local interest in it. So those are the materials that help to build our collection.
We're giving knowledge to people who may not have it in other circumstances. We're able to provide information, books, internet, anything to people who may live below poverty level freely. We're able to give them free information, which is, there's nothing better than being able to provide that for people, any people, without any socioeconomic status.
We have to, again, reflect the needs and desires of our community as much as possible, while maintaining a collection that preserves a high percentage of the history that we want or the information that we need.
I think it's one of the most important industries in the mass media world. I think that it offers solid information on multiple subjects as well as enjoyment for people. But I think especially globally, the book industry reaches more people than any other industry. I think that books help with phonics, how people approach different subjects. Perhaps like a book, there's something about holding a book and the smell of a book, and that when you get into a book and how it completely you get so absorbed into the book that everything else doesn't matter, and it's just that like absorption and that energy that you focus into that book, it's so hard to focus that into any other media. You can't take away, it's so hard to come away from a book and not take something with you. Books challenge you, whereas movies, it's like a sit back and relax type of situation. Books require you to become engaged and to educate yourself further on whatever subject matter that you're in.
My own personal feeling is that when the Romans came up with the codex, the book, it was probably one of the most fantastic inventions of man. It's portable. It's preservable. It does not depend on any external means for its interpretation. And by that I mean, if I have a Nook or a Kindle, and I'm not advertising, I need a plug. I need a source of electricity. I need, some way to access that information. God forbid the software changes in 5 years. It's no longer available. I can read out under a tree. I can read with a fluorescent light. I can read in the sunlight. Even a little bit of Braille. I'm familiar with, but it's still a book.
Depending on what I'm reading, the subject matter, I would say 2 to 3 books a week.
I'm pretty close to 5 or 6 at least.
I mean, I listen to the radio frequently, driving back and forth to and from work. Movies, maybe one a week, one every other week.
I watch one television show a week. If my children are watching television, I'm usually reading a book.
I would like to make books available to all people, globally, just especially to more impoverished nations where they don't have, they have a more severe, publicizing laws would be the correct term for that, where they don't allow as many books in, and they do a lot of censorship.
My biggest pet peeve, as far as the book industry today, is despite all the worldwide communication we have and the technology that we have, there are still books published, for instance, in Great Britain and in Australia that aren't available here.
I think that the book industry is going in a lot of different places with the invention of e-readers and books on CD, but books in general, I think, will always be here, and hopefully, even though we're moving further and further in technology, that there's always going to be that fallback on a hardcover book.
That is in such a state of flux, from what I understand. I know there's a big push by publishers not to sell ebooks to libraries because they want to make money on ebooks. And if we give, if I sell you an ebook, then 100 people can read it, and I don't make money off 99 books, off 99 ebooks.
Books definitely get checked out and read. E-readers are really popular, but from the patrons that do come in here with e-readers, the common comment is always, I just need to check out a book. That's so much easier. It's less of a process than getting an e-reader or getting a book on my e-reader from the library. My generation and generations younger than mine are used to getting things immediately and not having to wait. If technology allows them to do that with books, then they might be more geared towards that, but we have a pretty large younger generation that comes in here and still checks out books, especially amongst the teen books. They're really popular and they go out, they have a really high circulation. I think that if books inspire you and if you love them, then anything that you're doing that involves them is going to make you a happier person. I think that pursuing whatever dream you have with books is going to fulfill you in a sense.
You have to not only like the printed word, there has to be a feeling for the humanity behind it, and you cannot get trapped in a past. You have to be able to look toward a future, but you have to have a sense, more probably than any other industry, of the value of the past.